Chapter 2: How health and safety management systems work and what they look like. We talked in Chapter 1 ISO standards, ISO 9000 quality system, ISO 14001 environmental system, and ISO 45001 is a health and safety management system. And these are the ISO standards. But there is ILO standard as well. So these are all health and safety management systems. So forget about 9001 and 14001, which is meant for quality and um, environment. Here you need to know ISO 45000, which is ISO standard, and ILO OSH 2001 is a ILO health and safety management system. So now first one, lesson 1 in this, give an overview of the elements of a health and safety management system and the benefits of having a certified system. So what is the management system? So management system works or it's based on the PDCA management cycle. PDCA, plan, do, check, act. Plan, do, check, act. So remember this PDCA cycle. Every management system, it can be ISO 9000 quality system, it can be environmental 14000, and it can be ISO, which one? Our 45000. Occupational health and safety. All are based on PDCA cycle, and they work plan, do, check, act cycle. So what? At the planning stage, there are aims and objectives for the organization must be set, and plan for the emergencies, and plan how whatever is planned going to be implemented. Plan about it. So once planning is done, then do the job. Put your plans into effect and implement them. So during the work, it has to be checked. Procedures were developed during the planning stage. The job was being done. But whether the procedures are being followed by the workers or not. So how you come to know? Only by monitoring. So monitor your performance towards the aims and objectives that you set yourself. So you had set in the beginning, what is the policy, what are the objectives, what are the procedures you developed, everything, but you check them whether they are being followed or not by the staff and workers. If you find out some loopholes in the system, then you need to raise that issues, like inspection reports you brought out and you found out so many shortcomings, audits found out so many non-compliance issues. Now management has to act on the shortcoming. So routinely review the progress and change what you are doing if it looks like you are missing your targets. So this is a ILO OSH management system, which is developed by ILO labor organization. This no need to be certified. Any company can take this and make it as their internal system. So what does it do? It has got a policy, planning stage, policy development, clear statement has to be made by the management. Establish health and safety as a prime commitment of management at all levels of the organization, but particularly by the top management. So policy development, and it is the responsibility of the CEO to sign on that policy with the date. Then organizing with the roles and responsibilities developed for health and safety created within the organization, from senior management to the workers level, from top to bottom. Everybody has got certain responsibility. Not that health and safety only for supervisors and workers. No, every designation, management level must have written responsibilities. Then planning and implementing, third part, which is the do part. Detailed arrangement must be made for the management of health and safety. Central to this idea is the concept of risk assessment and the identification and implementation of safe systems of work and proactive protective measures. Then evaluate or check the system. Methods must be devised to monitor and review the effectiveness of the arrangements put into place. This might be done reactively, for example, by reviewing accident and ill health statistics, or actively by reviewing inspection reports. So in monitoring, there are reactive monitoring, proactive monitoring. The first comes proactive, before accident. Then something goes wrong, even after accidents also, we can monitor and we can improve the standards by taking actions. Audits also part of check. Arrangement must be made for the independent, systematic, and critical examination of the safety management system to ensure that all parts are working acceptably well. So auditing generally covers, documentation check, identifying policies and procedures, reviewing and checking whether they are suitable for this organization, and cross verifying with the site jobs whether the procedures been implemented or not, whether the worker got proper knowledge of the procedures or not. So a site visit will be carried out to identify the identify the evidences with sampling exercise. An auditor will do this. Internal auditors, if they do, they can also do this, or if a certification audit, then it's the third party auditors will do this job. So once the report comes out from this monitoring, then action for improvement, called act. Any shortcomings identified by the review process must be corrected as soon as possible by making whatever adjustments are necessary to the policy, organization, and arrangements for implementation. So continual improvement is necessary. The intention is that the safety management system will not remain static, but it is a ongoing process. Plan, do, check, act. Plan, do, check, act. When you act, you will come to know something is, something is not complying or something is lacking. Then you plan it again. Plan it again. So plan, then do it, then check it again, then act again plan. So it is ongoing process. Plan, do, check, act. So the improvement will happen as time passes, year after year. But continual work towards PDCA is very important. So what is the ILO OSH 2001 management system? Policy, organizing, implementing, planning and implementing, evaluation, auditing, action for improvement, and continual improvement. Second one is ISO 45000, the Occupational Health and Safety Management System. So it is a ISO standard. 45000 provides an occupational health safety management system standard that an organization can be extremely audited against. Successful certification to the management standard means that the organization can demonstrate to other interested parties, such as the clients of the organization, that it has a robust safety management system that can stand up to close scrutiny. So once any organization is certified to ISO 45000, they can show to their clients that they are complying with the health and safety systems, and they show themselves, we are safe company, we protect our workers, and this may be liked by the clients. These days clients don't want to go to unsafe contractors. They want safe contractors for their products, for their activities. They want the contractors who take care of their employees. So such companies will get more and more businesses. If any contractors are making accidents, then nobody is going to give them more jobs. So ISO 45000, if once implemented and certified by the organization, it is a good business tool for them. Similarly, ISO 9000, ISO 14000 also will help the organization to show competency in that particular areas, quality and environmental. So here also again PDCA plays important role, but the process is little bit different here. What is the process? Contractor has to identify context of the organization, like management system framework. How does the management work? Context of the who are the interested parties for the organization that need to be identified. So it requires that the management system is designed and operated so as to be appropriate to the organization and its operational environment. There can be subcontractors, there can be suppliers, there can be visitors to that premises. All these are the interested parties for the organization. And while deriving any procedures, they need to consider all these different parties in mind for their protection whenever they come in contact with our work. So referring to the figure, we can see that this forms both the environment in which the management system operates, the boundaries of the system and the system itself. So it is the scene, it sets the scene for the ISO 45000. Context of the organization means it is the scene for the organization. Once the context is known, once the people involved, equipment involved, it is known, then it is easier for the organization to work towards the safety of all the parties. It's not only our employees. If we hire a crane from a subcontractor, then there should be proper procedure for subcontractors who are getting the crane inside our premises. Subcontractor management. Before getting the crane, what the contractor has to do, where he should apply, how to check whether the crane is safe. All that must be written in the process. So there can be hundreds of processes or procedures developed for implementing ISO 45000. Leadership and worker participation. So the ISO 45000 requires that proof should be given that leadership or senior management involves in health and safety, decision making, or health to certain level. Maybe conducting meetings. So if there is a meeting, then senior level management or some representative from senior level must be available. Um, so participation requires that the OHSMS is driven by those at the top of the organization with the active engagement and participation of workers at all levels. From the figure, we can see that this requirement sits at the heart of the PDCA management cycle with a very heavy emphasis on management leadership. The standard makes it clear that top management must be personally involved in driving and promoting the management system. So if you see in the picture where the management leadership is there, here at the center, leadership. So if the leadership is not there, then the entire management system can collapse. Then planning stage, again the same thing, plan, do, check, act, what we said. Planning stage, so plan for the activities. Support, take the support for occupational health and safety. Support for the occupational health and safety can be in terms of maintenance, in terms of trainings, uh, so that continual improvement is there. Then operation, do the job, requires the hazard and risk are operationally managed. The figure shows how both of these requirements of the do element of the PDCA cycle being concerned with many of the core management activities that are central to good occupational health and safety management. Performance evaluation requires the systematic internal monitoring and reviewing of occupational performance, health and safety performance, with a view of driving continual improvement. The figure shows how this fulfills the requirements of check in the PDCA management cycle. Anyway, this checking time means we know what is checking. Checking means whether our job goes on as per the planning. So procedures were developed, risk assessments were developed, controls were put in place, and now implementation is done or not. You have very good chemical handling procedures written down. But when I go to your site and see in a Masafi bottle, if you put the thinner, How can I evaluate the performance? I will say that procedures are good, but implementation is not there. So what is not there? Why the workers were putting the thinner or acetone in the Masafi bottle? Because they were not trained. So gap is there. Lack of training. Do we have a training plan? No. So my inspection report will say no training given to the workers, no PP available in the storage area, no proper inspections carried out. So when I do investigation on this, I will come to know so many things, and I will make a audit report or an inspection report. And once the management takes action on that, there can be improvement. So improvement is very important. As more and more checks, performance monitorings are happening at different departments, there can be continual improvement. So what are the benefits of achieving certification? So when the organization achieves the ISO certification, it is a good reputation for the organization. ISO system standard operates in the same way as other ISO management standards. That conformance to the standard can be verified by national accredited organization. So when we have ISO certification, that means external ISO recognized organization will come and audit it, check it. If company organization is not complying with the ISO standard, then the certificate can be taken out. And if this certificate is taken out, there will be huge problems to the organization. Their clients will come to know, authorities will come to know, and then they will start interfering with the monitoring of such organizations, inviting the risk of fines. So that, okay, this may be useful for internal purposes. So when you have certification, it can be useful for the internal purpose, like to demonstrate to the internal interested parties that there is a management system exists and it is functional. For many organizations, it will be usually externally when trying to show clients, customers, and the authorities that OHS management is integrated with the routine functioning of the organization. This can give the organization a competitive advantage when competing against other organizations for contracts or further work. So generally, when there is a tendering job, any government tender, these are the basic questions are asked, whether you have ISO certification. And if you say no, there is no chance that you will go for a tendering. So when you have ISO certifications, you can always compete in the market. Certification is an expensive process, but the cost of achieving and maintaining certification are often outweighed by the financial benefits associated with having a robust, formal certified OHSMS. So getting certified is not easy. You have to work hard. So many procedures need to be developed, consultancy cost, certification cost will be there. But still, after spending that cost, there are high chances that you get more businesses and all your cost will be covered. Um, so whether an organization is using ILO OSH or ISO 45000, it may be necessary to go around the cycle more than once, particularly when starting time, then developing a new process, products or service, or implementing any change. So that are the benefits of we understood what is ISO systems or management systems and how we can uh, have benefits and what we need to get done, what we need to get done to get benefited from ISO standards. And that way I finished the first lesson of chapter 2. Lesson 2 of chapter 2, making the management system work. So we have a management system, plan, do, check, act, but what it actually covers. How does the management system work? So generally we call it health and safety policy. The health and safety policy. So health and safety policy is what? Is it just a One page signed by the senior manager and displayed on the notice board. Is that the policy? Most of us have got that misconception, saying that, oh, that is our policy. This policy is fine. That is only the one part of the policy. It is the intention of the management, statement of intent. So actually, policy covers everything. We generally call probably health and safety manual of the organization. Okay. So the policy should influence decision making within the organization. Decision making policy. Okay. Senior management have to decide what kind of health and safety standards they are committing the organization to, and will have to allocate resources accordingly. Is our policy just namesake? If our policy is very stronger and we want really no accident, no injuries, no ill health, we need good benefits from our system, then there should be a strong management system, health and safety system, good planning, trained workers, proper inspections, monitoring, and action taking on the shortcomings should be done on time, immediately, with full effect. Then only that system can be more effective. It helps managers to have to ensure that their decision making is in line with the policy and does not work against the organization's stated aims and objectives. So when you have a strong policy, it will help the lower level managers also to take decisions in line with that. If the policy says we provide training to our workers and make our workers competent workers before carrying out any work, and that is signed by the CEO of the organization. Now, can a lower level manager say that, no, I don't want to give any training to my workers? If he does that, he is working against the policy. We should see what is the core policy. So he should now raise the issue to the senior management that we have these works to be carried out and our workers are not trained. We need all these workers to undergo this particular training. We don't have proper first aid here, so we need proper first aid people. We don't have firefighters or fire wardens here, so we need training in fire warden. So there can be a training plan developed based on this policy statement. So your policy statement writing by the senior management must be very effective. So there are standards and guidance. What are the standards says? R164, Article 14 says, Occupational Health and Safety Recommendation, R164, Article 14 says, employers should, where the nature of the operations in their undertaking warrants it, be required to set out in writing their policy and arrangements in the field of occupational safety and health, and the various responsibilities exercised under these arrangements, and to bring this information to the notice of every worker in a language or medium the worker readily understands. So that is what law says. To achieve compliance with this ILO recommendation, national and regional legislation will contain the specific legal requirement for an employer to implement and record their health and safety policy and arrangements. For example, in Britain, this legal requirement is set out in the Health and Safety Act 1974, Section 2, point number 3. The ILO's Occupational Safety and Health Management System, ILO 2001, has additional guidance on health and safety policies. National governments often publish specific guidance on what this actually means in practice in a given region. For example, in Britain, the HSC publishes several guidance documents on the topic of safety policies and occupational health and safety management systems. Okay, all that is fine you for our read. We will listen to that. No need to keep all that in mind. Whenever needed, we can come back to that and refer. But this is important here. The three parts of health and safety policy. What are the three parts of health and safety policy? Whatever you display, you see that maybe on your employee notice boards, there is a policy statement. That is only one part, and that is here statement of intent, general statement of intent, statement of general policy. So there's one part of the health and safety policy. So what are the three parts here? Statement of intent, organization part, and the arrangements part. So let's go individually one by one. Please write down these things, these three things here. Write down in your textbook. Three parts of health and safety policy: general statement of intent, organization section, and arrangement section. So each part plays important role in the overall health and safety management system. So general statement of intent. This is the intention of the boss, intention of the manager, senior manager, intention of the CEO. What he intends to do with regards to health and safety. Will he just don't care that whether he's okay to get accident there, or he says, no, I don't want accidents in my organization. I want every employee who comes to my workplace should safely go back to workplace. Now, to do that, what I am doing, just by telling them with the mouth, this will not happen. How I am going to ensure that? So I will provide trainings to these guys. I will provide safe equipment to them. I will conduct inspections and check it. I will carry out risk assessments. I will develop procedures for them. I will give them good welfare. So I will give whatever is needed, resources, I will give them, and I will make sure that the jobs are carried out safely. Then that person will sign there below with a date. And who will sign there? The CEO will sign that sheet. This one-page document is called General Statement of Intent. There will be date, and generally this will be reviewed annually, whether whatever is said is being done or not. So when we do the statement of intent, first we need to check the aims of the organization. What is our aim? Our aim is to reduce the accident. Our aim is to meet the legal obligations. Our aim is to provide safe workplace, safe equipment, safe systems of work. Our aim is to provide the information, instruction, training, and supervision to the workers. The company's aim is to conduct the risk assessment of the critical activities. Company's aim is to check the performance. So performance monitoring, providing the resources such as health and safety advice, enough whatever is needed, time, especially time for trainings, effective communication and consultation with workers. So all these things, how I'm going to make sure the accident will be minimized and people will be kept safe by complying with the legal standards, by providing safe workplace. So write them down. That aims, they need to write them down. How I'm going to achieve my aims and objectives. What I want to achieve is the targets. So I will bring down my accident rates year after year. I will conduct active monitoring. Okay, inspections on that. Whatever objectives I write in my statement of intent must be smart objectives. Don't simply give, bluffing, like, whatever is impossible to achieve, you can't write down in the policy. Whatever you write and sign, it is a legal document there. Legal document. You have signed it and you are accepting. Otherwise, nobody will trust you. Your policy. Policy means as a boss, as a company organizer, as a company in charge, you are telling that this is what I want and this what we are going to achieve. These are our objectives. These are our aims. So your objectives should be smart objectives, to be simple, specific to a particular topic, precise objective, They should be measurable. What you said must be measurable. After 3 months, where I'm going to be. Maybe my supervisors, I will train them in the Bosch IGC. This year, at least 50% of my supervisory staff should complete or should undergo NIBOSH IGC training. Then you give this objective to them indirectly. If they show us the certificate end of the year, they will get increment. If they don't, then they might lose their job. When you give them this objective, then they will work towards it. So your objectives must be measurable, achievable. So impossible to achieve, you can't, that will lead to stress to the workers. So getting a NIBOSH IGC is not difficult. They can try again and again and get passed by within the given time. They must be reasonable, time scale set. Some jobs can be done quickly, some jobs need time. So reasonable and time bound. A deadline or time scale is set for completion of the objectives. So all that, and this is all for you to read. Okay, please read whatever is there in the most textbook. Second part of the policy is the roles and responsibilities or organization part. So if roles and responsibilities are not given, not written down correctly, then no one knows what they should do, whether it's me to do or manager to do or a supervisor to do. So every designation must have certain roles and responsibilities. So we already saw the organizational structure: manager, directors, supervisors, and employees. So what does the CEO will do? Is ultimately responsible and accountable for the entire organization. Management at all levels, or the managers responsible for ensuring that all appropriate safety measures are in place and being carried out effectively within the part of the organization under their management control. This might be done by breaking down the management hierarchy into discrete layers and allocating responsibilities to each layer. All employees are responsible for acting safely at all times in the course of their duties at work. There are competent persons identified at every organization, and they have operational duties, but also considered competent to carry out one or more specific health and safety duties. So who are the competent persons can be in an organization? Safety officers, first aiders, fire marshals, physicians, if there are doctors in the organization, nurses, all they become part of the competent persons that are needed for health and safety. Then there can be specialist health and safety practitioners responsible for providing advice to support management and employees in achieving safety. So they are also part of the competent person, but here they are set specialist health and safety practitioners. So who will be these? The well-qualified people in health and safety. Now, when you become a safety officer and with the proper experience, you can work as a specialist health and safety practitioner. Then the arrangement section, third part of the policy. Now, intention is given, responsibilities are given. Now, how you are going to achieve this? In the arrangement section, you should mention that with the various procedures developed by the organization. What procedures need to be developed? General health and safety management arrangements. So how to carry out risk assessment? So write down a risk assessment procedure with proper likelihood and severity rating, steps of risk assessment well defined, what to do the risk is high, what to do when the risk is medium. Everything is defined in the process and the procedure, and forms are given, and these will be trained to workers. Then the workers will do risk assessment, or the supervisors will initiate the risk assessment before their job. But arrangement must be made, isn't it? Otherwise workers may not do this if you don't give them format, if you don't train them. So these are the arrangements. Then other examples of arrangements can be identifying and supplying health and safety information, instruction and training. Accident and near miss reporting, recording and investigation. So there should be a procedure for this. Whom to report, how to report, which number to dial in case, or which form to use. All that will be there in the procedure. Consultation with workers on health and safety matters. Developing safe systems of work and permit to work systems to control hazards. Okay, so there is a procedure for this. Procedure for welfare and first aid provision, procedure for housekeeping, procedure for fire safety and prevention, emergency response procedures, communication procedures such as how to conduct meetings or toolbox talk trainings, training procedures, compliance monitoring or safety inspection procedures, all that thing, how to do monitoring, air monitoring procedures, all that will be mentioned in the procedures, and a detailed procedure should be developed and trained to workers and implemented. So three parts, when they come together, it will become the health and safety manual. Any clients will ask to a contractor before they give any job, can you give us your health and safety manual? So this shows the company has a robust health and safety management system, and the implementation part will be seen during the site visit. Okay, I think now when we have that, just policy is enough. One time creating? No, it should be. It is a live document. Health and safety policy is a live document, so it should be reviewed regularly. Health and safety policy should not be considered as rigid or an unchanging. Instead, it should be subject to regular reviews so that it remains current and relevant. In this way, it can be considered a live document. So it is good practice to review policy on a regular basis. So annually, health and safety policy should be reviewed. Therefore, our CEO should annually sign on this policy. If any sentences need to be changed or if any sentence need to be added, should do at that time and sign, and it should be displayed for everyone to read. It must be read by their employees, their clients, their service providers, for everyone who enters the company, the same policy. There is no more or less for different parties. Everybody has to follow that policy when they are in the premises or when they do any activity with the company. If a contractor comes to the company, then contractor has to follow company policies and procedures. Okay, so circumstances that might require a review of policy. This was a very common question used in the closed book exam before. What circumstances make a policy review requires? But here in open book also, policy related question comes. This can be a very common question. Emmanuel, can you read this one for me? When health and safety policy should be reviewed?
Okay. Circumstances that might require a review of policy. Technological changes, for example, introduction of new plant or processes.
Yeah.
Should I continue?
Oh, yeah, continue.
So organizational changes, for example, changes to key personnel, such as new CEO or MD, or changes to the management structure of the organization.
Okay, stop.
Legal.
Let me explain these things. Let me explain. Technological changes means if any new plant comes to the company, definitely the plant will come up with so many hazards. It might need training to particular people. So now what happens there? Policy is not updated. Now since this is coming there, automatic systems are coming, then there should be specific procedures should be developed. Now automatically the policy need to be reviewed for that. Organizational changes. If a CEO left or company being sold to some other company, some other organization, now what happens? The signature is done here on the statement of intent, the previous manager. Now the new manager comes, he has to review and re-sign. Otherwise, there is no point in the statement of intent when the company changeover. Legal changes are occurring. Many times new law comes. That time that need to be incorporated within the organization and policy need to be updated. Changes to the type of work that the organization does. Before, company was not doing work at height. Now company is taking work at height contracts. Work at height is very high risk job. There can be accident chances, or if an accident happens, the fatality chances are very high. So take appropriate precautions by updating the policy, maybe in terms of training, fall protection, specialist training, rescue arrangements need to be updated in the policies and procedures. When an audit or investigation or risk assessment suggests the policy is no longer effective, if an accident happened or an investigation said that this was lacking, some procedure was not there, that means the policy is not effective now. So you have to update that policy. When suggested by a third party, for example, an insurance company or a client says something is lacking here, then check the procedures of that particular topic, issue, and update the procedures and policy. Following enforcement action, when the company gets a fine, then must be investigated properly, immediately, why this happened, and change the policy and procedures. Following consultation with the workforce, a change of buildings, workplace, or work site. Maybe the building is moved to some other location. That time emergency will change, fire arrangements will change, procedures will change. So many things will change. So of course, policy will be changing. The manual has to be updated. After a certain amount of time has passed since the last review. So it's generally, if there is no change, nothing is happening, then at least annually we have to, the company has to check its policy procedures. The entire manual has to be checked and updated. If no changes are there, at least they need to say that we have been updated this on so and so date, and it must be signed appropriately. The aim of the review is to make sure that the policy is up to date and accurate. The date of the last review should be recorded on policy documents to indicate how current they are. Okay. And that way, we have finished lesson 2 and chapter 2. Lesson 2 of chapter 2 and chapter 2 also we completed.